We made it through. We made it through. We made it through. TSA. Thank you for being so quick with our family.
Legacy. It's a word that is used to describe what we've chosen to leave behind. A gift in which we will not only be remembered, but will also benefit those ahead of us. When it comes to my grandparents, I see the legacy that they have created and are leaving behind. So I'm taking my family on a trip to visit my grandparents before they go back to our beautiful homeland of Puerto Rico. With my wife and kids, I hope to discover more about our family and who came before us, with the desire of carrying our legacy forward. From generations that have come and gone, to the ones that continue to remain. Join me as I seek for wisdom and a blessing that will change everything. We are at Chicago O'Hare, the beautiful Chicago O'Hare. There is my little baby boy.
Somebody's having fun.
Getting ready. Getting ready.
All day, every day. Once a day.
My beautiful wife.
Elliot, where are you? Huh? Where are you? First trip to the airport. Yay! Let's stick together.
Please remove the safety information card located in the seat back pocket and follow along. Each door is equipped with an emergency evacuation.
So we're flying out to South Carolina to visit my grandparents, Ephraim Vargas and Juanita Figueroa. They've been married 70 years, which is amazing. It will be 71 years as of February 25th, and they're amazing. We're doing a last-minute trip because they will actually be going back to Puerto Rico. Because of Hurricane Maria last year and all the complications that brought to the island, they had to relocate with my uncle in South Carolina. And now, more than a year later, they're choosing to go back. And my grandfather's health has been up and down over the last 6 months, so we wanted to come out and surprise them before they go back so they can meet their newest great-grandchild, Elliot. I'm excited for this. I'm real excited.
We're in Charleston now, and never been at this airport, but it's pretty awesome. Tobi, never been at this airport either, so it's kind of cool seeing all the different, Eli's first time flying, yes, and he did, well, Mom gave him a C. I mean, I was in front of them, so I didn't have to do anything, so I give him a B+.
A C is right.
A C.
Maybe a C minus.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're on our way. South Carolina, here we are. See Pita Mita? Are you ready to see them? Yeah? So excited. So excited.
So now we're on our way to my uncle's house, and we can now wait to surprise them and see their reaction. They have no idea we're coming. Man, what a cool moment just seeing my grandmother holding Eli and just embracing him, and seeing my wife talk to my grandfather and how happy he was. You could just feel the energy, and Tobi, even Tobi, just his energy. And I just remember the moments when I was growing up in Puerto Rico, and my grandfather would always walk me home from school. And these are like memories, these are moments that we make that we can always go back to. And our families remain in those memories and in those moments. And I'm so thankful that I got to share this one with them.
Pero que este está gordo. Oh my goodness, mira la vecina de que trata. Ay, qué linda.
¡Ay, salud! ¡Ay, salud!
Díselo, padre.
Fuerte. Y es fuerte.
Fuerte.
Fuerte. Ese, ¿qué? Se le escapa.
Mira cómo va a hacer. So after visiting with my grandparents and uncle and aunt, I sat down with my grandmother, and she shared stories with me about her youth, her marriage, and my dad. My dad, Ephraim Vargas Jr., passed away in July of 2008 from complications from his lifelong battle with type 1 diabetes. He was diagnosed at a very young age. However, prior to being diagnosed with diabetes, my father had been living in a children's hospital in New Jersey, about 4 hours away from my grandparents' home in New York, for a total of 5 years. And this was after he was diagnosed with early stages of polio. My grandmother shared with me that at that time there was an epidemic of sorts of children that suffered from polio and muscular dystrophy. She shared with me how one day my dad was playing with his cousin, and my dad fell and complained about his leg hurting. When my grandparents took him to the hospital, they gave them the diagnosis. My grandparents were told that he would have to go live in a children's hospital, one of the top children's hospital in the country, for that type of treatment, but it was for an undisclosed period of time. At that time, my grandparents were financially stable, but weren't financially stable enough to afford the accommodations for my father. What's crazy is that was until my grandfather's boss decided to cover all costs of his stay, due to another crazy story that I won't go into detail to right now. Maybe in the future, maybe in another vlog, but trust me, it's crazy. With the cost covered, my father lived in that children's hospital for 5 years, and my grandparents were told the unfortunate news that due to the disease, he would never be able to walk again. My grandparents never wavered, but they definitely had ups and downs, good days and bad days, but they always depended on a power that was not their own. They are what Christians call prayer warriors. They truly believe in the power of prayer and all that it can bring. Both of them had full-time jobs, and my dad would live in the hospital 5 days a week and visit my grandparents on weekends. My grandmother shared with me the details of a story that I've heard over and over again from my dad and my family, and the story that shaped my faith and my belief in the Creator. So I'm going to share that with you. So I sit down with my grandmother, and she shared with me that on one specific weekend when my father was 8 years old, he was visiting my grandparents, and his aunt was over as well. Well, my dad began watching a program on TV that was a Christian crusade by Reverend Oral Roberts inside the old Yankee Stadium. He used to bring out these massive tents and would have 12,000 people inside these tents. And Oral Roberts was known for his worldwide crusades and his calls specifically for physical healing. So my dad's watching this with his aunt and my grandfather. My grandmother's in the kitchen, and he sees the Reverend call out those that want to be healed and tells them that if they want healing, they must believe that their faith will make them well, as Jesus said so many times during his ministry on earth. What's funny is that my grandfather shared practically the same story with me last year, and this is where it gets interesting. My dad turns to my grandfather and says, "I need you to take these braces off of my legs." My grandfather chuckled at my dad, and my dad said, "No, Dad, I'm serious. I need you to take these braces off of my legs now." And this time, he said it with a loud voice. My grandfather, with a panicked look on his face, asks, "Do you want me to help you out of the chair?" My dad says, "No, the Lord is going to heal me." So as all this is going on in the broadcast is showing people on live TV that are being healed. So my grandfather locks my dad's wheelchair in place. He removes the braces from my dad's legs and tells my dad, "Okay, you're set." My dad then grabs the handles tightly and grabs the TV set to pull himself up. He does so, but quickly falls. My grandfather is panicking at this point and asks to help my dad, but my dad said, "No, I can do it. Let me do this." My dad then grabs the wheelchair to pull himself up, and then once again grabs the TV set and lets go, only to fall again. My grandfather watches as his son, my dad, is struggling to get up from the ground. Then my father in a loud voice says, "Lord, I believe you can heal me. Heal me." My dad then pulls himself up on the chair and then grabbed the TV set once again. The moment he grabbed the TV set, my grandparents said, he took off running. He ran all over the house, and his aunt became frantic and began to scream because she could not understand what she just saw. My grandmother was in awe. Imagine seeing your son, whom you were told would never walk, running through the kitchen and yelling, "I'm healed, I'm healed." That story, that is why I know there's a creator and why I believe that Jesus was and is who he says he was and is. My grandparents and my dad spent their lives sharing his story with people in the hopes that others would come to believe in something bigger than themselves. They went through a lot of hardships. My father was also in a coma at the age of 12 after going into diabetic shock. Many times did my dad face death. It's wild to think about that I'm even here on this planet in the first place. We continued sharing stories, which again, I hope to share with you in the future. But what was most amazing to me was the faithfulness and the posture that my grandparents have always taken when loving people. They never shut people out. They always extend their hands out to those in need, and they remain true to their faith. When you get a chance to speak to people that have been on earth for 94 years, not only is it an opportunity to hear amazing stories about a life well lived, but there's also so much wisdom to be absorbed. The beauty about story is that story can shift humanity's heart from an unwillingness to not, to a willingness to do, a willingness to pursue love and peace and relationship. And that's my hope for myself and humanity, that we can be a people that shift hearts towards a willingness and an intentionality to love one another. We spent 2 days sharing stories and learning about our family. My grandparents enjoyed their time with Eli and Tobi and made some pretty awesome memories. My uncle also shared stories about my grandparents and their challenges and victories, and about his relationship with my dad, who was his much older brother, 13 years apart. On the last night that we were there, I asked my grandfather for one thing and one thing only. I asked for my blessing. You see, in Old Testament times, the oldest son of any family had a birthright to ask for his father's blessing. It was meant as a passing of the torch, a way to encourage and claim the inheritance of wisdom to the next generation.
Llénalo, mi Dios, que donde quiera que Él ponga la planta de sus pies, tú lo bendigas, lo pongas en gracia. Padre, en el nombre de Jesús, lo declaro, mi Dios, ungido para tu obra y separado para tu gracia divina. Gracias, Padre. Desde hoy, Señor, están separados para servirte, mi Dios. Sé con Él en todo momento.
I'm not sure where my life will take me, but I know that my purpose is to show people their worth through the power of love, and to show them that when we choose to love one another, we can create a future much bigger and better than the one that is presently in front of us. When we choose to love ourselves, we can empower something within us that fills us to the point where we must overflow with a resonant energy that infects people and changes hearts toward the direction of love.
Poema de primer grado, del 1933. El día es toda broma, hay fiesta en el primer grado. Hoy recibimos un diploma que es el premio más apreciado. Alegres y compuestitas como palomitas blancas, ríe Juana y Margarita, todas son aves que cantan. Amigos, cantemos hoy, todos henchidos de gozo. Reciba nuestra labor este premio maravilloso. Aprendemos cosas buenas en el ramo del saber. Leemos cuentos, poemas, qué bueno es aprender. Cuentos de 1 hasta 100, cartas le escribo a mamá. Sé contar, sé leer, pero quiero aprender más.
I can't even say that, bro.
This is an experience I will never forget and never take for granted. I know my life will be filled with ups and downs, victories and defeat, struggle and prosperity. But I know that at the end of it all, the constant that I want to remain is love. There can be faith, there can be hope, but the greatest of them all is love.
I'm kind of still hungry. I should have ate more.
Hungry?
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, kid.
We're back home. We did it. We did it. It was an incredible journey, but we did it.
Sticky finger.
We got that, yeah, for sure. Sticky finger.